Hello guys, and welcome to a new fun video. This is going to be all of the games that I played with some mini reviews, stats, all of the things for the month of January. This video is in collaboration with Andrea from Life with Dra. I will have her channel and video linked down below. We are going, a lot of our games we do play together because we have our weekly game night on Saturdays, and then we have girls night on Wednesday, and we've started incorporating playing some games just us two. And then we do have some games that we played individually with our spouses or other friends. And so we're just gonna get right on into it. The first play of the year was on January 8th, and this day we played 3 different games. I don't have any of them currently with me to show you, but I will have Chris insert a picture here of the first game we played, which was Tiny Towns. Now I'm going to pull up the Board Game Geek information on it so I can just let you know the weight and all of those things. So this is a 1 to 6 player game. I did not realize you could play it with that many people. I thought it was 1 to 4, but it's 1 to 6, so we'll probably be playing that again soon on a game night where we have some bonus friends. It says it's 45 to 60 minutes, but I have none of the games I've played of it, and I played it a couple other times this month, were that long. I would say it's probably more of a 30-minute, and it's rated a 2.05 out of 5 for the weight, so it's a pretty easy game. At least in my opinion. It's very strategic. You have to really think ahead. This is a pattern building, grid coverage type game. So essentially, you have a little map, which is your town. Everybody has a unique building in their town that they have to build, which gives them different perks. Then, upon your turn, you will select a color cube, and there are, I think 6 cards laid out of the different, 6 or 8 cards laid out of the different things you can build, from cottages, libraries, a bar, a bunch of different things you can add to your town, and each card has different effects and point values based on what you do. Certain things you have to have in a row next to each other, or you have to have a farm in order to get your cottage to gain you any points. So you have to really think about it, and you have a grid board, so you can only put things in certain places, and everything is built upon different, it'll be a shape, and it'll be you need a brown, a green, or a brown, a red, and a blue. So once you have those things in that pattern on your board, you can then build the establishment that you're going for. So when it's your turn, you'll pick a resource color and place it on your board, and everybody else also has to pick that resource. It could be something they're excited about. It could be something they absolutely do not want, but they have to take it and place it anyway. And with that, as you go around, you'll have resources placed that you just can do nothing with, which end up losing you points in the end. So it's a pretty fun game. The first time we played it, I believe I actually shockingly won my first time playing. Chris wasn't really paying attention, didn't really know what was going on. It was played by me, Andrea, Nick, and Chris. He literally scored 2 points. I scored 28, Andrea had 15, and Nick had 4. Chris didn't know what he was doing, so he just was putting things places. And then Nick was also not in the room when we set it up, so he was just kind of also not paying attention. Then we immediately played it again, in which Nick won with 29 points, Andrea with 16, Chris with 15, and me with 8. So as you can see, things can drastically change based on the colors other people are picking. It really affects what happens. Next, we played the game Parks, and oh my god, it was so fun. So this is also a game that Andrea owns. We'll have Chris insert a picture of the box here, and it's just a blast. Essentially, everybody has 2 workers, and you're going through different seasons trying to collect different weather. There are sunshines, mountains, I guess nature things, water droplets. You can get wild, which are all shaped like different animals, and trees. And you're going through to collect these different elements in order to visit different national parks. The artwork, absolutely stunning, beautiful, love everything about it. And so you're moving your people down this board, and once everybody gets to the end, the new season starts. and it's just a great time. It's a little bit complicated at first, but once you get into it, it's super easy to understand and so much fun. It's like a game that I want to actually buy for myself so I can play it like at home, like since I don't own it. It is a 1 to 5 player game, which is also great because a lot of games are actually only 1 to 4 player. It says a 30 to 60 minute game, which I agree with, and it's a 2.14, so it's slightly more difficult than Tiny Towns, which I do agree with. The mechanics in this game are track movement, worker placement. There are end game bonuses, and overall it is a great time. So when we played it, I actually won. I had 29 points, 27 for Andrea, 20 for Chris, and 15 for Nick. I got a bonus, a really big bonus, because at the beginning of the game you're given like a objective almost, like something you will get bonuses for. And mine was if I had 7 parks that had like the sunshine element on them, which I did, and that really helped. And then Nick was really focused on having the go first token, which does help when placing your workers, but it kind of hurt him in the end because he was so focused on that, he didn't like, he missed out on other opportunities to gain points. So the next game we played on that day was the game Scythe, which is actually not a favorite of mine. I do own that game, but it is currently at Andrea's house because she is borrowing it as she wants to try playing it 2-player. This is also a 1 to 5 player game. Again, good for groups. It says it's best with 4. I strongly disagree. I much prefer playing it with 2 people because the game gets super crowded. However, if you flip the game board over, it's like a giant size of half the game board, and you can buy a second game board and put them together and make the board bigger, which I think would help with the clutter issue. This is a 90 to 115 minute game. Definitely agree. It's very long, and it's a 3.4 out of 5 on the difficulty scale, which I also agree with. The mechanisms in this game are, there is some, what is it called, combat that happens in this game, force combat. There is a hexagon grid movement, worker placement, zone control. So essentially you all have boards. Everybody's is like the same 4 sections, but they have like, so say everybody has the section where like you're producing, the requirement in order to make it is different based on which board you are randomly given at the beginning. And there's just a lot going on. You have there's a lot of pieces. You're trying to essentially have the most victory points at the end. There's different ways to end the way to end the game is there's like a section at the top of the board where there's different objectives you have to complete, and once I think you complete 6, then the game ends. The first person to complete 6, and then you score. The first time I played this was actually back in December. Me and Chris played, and I was doing so good, but then Chris beat me in popularity, which I learned was very important. On the side of the board you have your popularity, and based on which section you are changes how like many points you get for different things. And because he was in a higher section than me, he ended up really kicking my butt. But that's Scythe. It's not like a favorite of mine. I would never choose to play it. If somebody else wanted to, like, of course I will play it. It's just like not for me. And it turns out when we did play it, we had a lot of the rules wrong, and so yeah. And when we did play, I lost. Nick had 80 points, Chris had 77, Andrea had 68, and I had 65. Nick was very focused on combat and keeping the factory in the center, because if you have the factory, you get a bonus. But that's everything we played on January 8th. Our next play was January 14th, and the first game we actually played twice was Betrayal, House on the Hill, which is actually my favorite game of the month. Yeah, so this game is so fun. It is a 3 to 6 player game, 60 to 90 minutes. The playtime is very like dependent on which like haunt you have. And that's something that I really love about this game, is that every time you play, every single time, it is so different. It is a 2.48 on Board Game Geek for the weight. and it is a modular board, which I love. There's dice rolling, player elimination, teams, traders. It's so fun. So the first time we played, we had, I forget what the name of like the haunt we had was, but basically we had to like bring remains to the graveyard, and Chris was the trader. So when you're setting up the game, you each pick which character you want to play, and you get like this wheel. This is the character that I always play. I always play Father Warren Leung, and you put these little trackers on the green numbers, and those are like your starting stats. And throughout the game, this is like the beginning of the board. You choose where you want to go, if you want to discover new rooms, and then you'll flip over these tiles and add them to the room like this, and so on. There's an upstairs and a basement, and you're discovering rooms, and different rooms have different icons. Like these ones all have this swirl, which is an event card, so you'll read an event card and what's the word I'm looking for, and like do whatever it says. Like this one says make a knowledge roll, so you would look at what level your knowledge is at and use that many dice, roll it, and then based on what you get would determine how you proceed. Then there are some tiles with a raven, which would be an omen card. And when you get an omen card, you read what it says, and then you would roll as many dice as there are omen cards on the table to see if a haunt happens. You have to roll a 5 for the haunt to happen, and the dice only have 1 through 2 on them and then blank sides. So you don't really have to roll until you have 3 omens on the table, because it would be impossible to roll a 5. And then if you do roll a 5 or higher, the haunt would start. And then some cards have this like skull on it, and these are items, which are like different perks you get throughout the game. So once you get the you pull the omen and you roll to see if you get the haunt. If the haunt does happen, you will check your scenario cards. Like say this is the one that we had selected, which is a strange disappearance, and the ring was the omen that started the haunt. You'd look right on here, and it says that the player who has the lowest sanity level at that time would become the traitor, and that the haunt is on page 30. So the traitor would get this book, go to page 30, and then everybody else would get this book, turn to page 30, read the new setup. You essentially have to set up an entirely new game, and then there's different things you do to defeat them. So the haunt we did the first time, we had to find the remains, or grab the remains of somebody, and that was the box, not me, the remains, and bring them to the graveyard. Chris was the traitor, but he put the remains right next to me, so we were able to get them pretty quick. Nick died almost immediately trying to fight the monsters, and when you are the traitor, you also get to play the monsters, which is super fun. So you get 2 turns. I ended up dying because I got attacked by monsters, and Andrea was stuck in the mystic elevator, which you roll to see which floor you go on. She kept getting stuck in the basement, but it kind of ended up helping in the end, and she pulled an item of a creepy doll, which like got you to go right to the graveyard, so she ended up winning the game for us, and Chris lost. Then we played again, and I was the traitor, and it was the faceless manhunt, which was so fun. I had to get the runes, and in my phone I had to type out which rooms they were in, and they had to go and try to figure out where it was to figure out the full name of the faceless man, and then go say it to him to defeat him. And so that was pretty cool. And then they could ask me oh, am I in the right room? And if they weren't, I would tell them if they were on the right floor or not. If they were on the right floor, I would say how many spaces they weren't. But every time they asked, my monster would go attack them. So that was really fun. Nick died literally immediately. He was stuck in the basement and pulled a card about there's some mysterious liquid, do you want to drink it? And he did. And basically if you rolled anything but a 0, you would gain stats, and he rolled a 0 and died. So that was tragic. And then Andrea basically won the game for us again. classic. So then the last game we played that day was Unstable Unicorns, which I do not have, so we will insert the picture here. Essentially, this is like an easy, quick card game by Unstable Games. Love them. And you're trying to get 7 cute little unicorns in your stable. Whoever does that first wins while you're sabotaging each other, and so on and so forth. It's like one of our favorite like quick games is what we call them, the little appetizers. So we literally spent more time trying to sabotage each other than actually trying to win the game. We played it because it was supposed to be quick, and then we ended up playing like an hour-long game because we just literally kept sabotaging each other. So that was everything for the 14th, and then I went over to Andrea's on the 18th, and we had a board game shopping spree. If you have not watched it, I do have a video of everything we bought during that. And so the first game we played was Cascadia, which we ended up tying. I don't have the game, so we will insert here, and let me pull her up. This is a game where like it's so ugly, like in my opinion, sorry if that offends you, I don't really like mountains. It has a giant elk on the front. This is a 1 to 4 player game. It says it's 30 to 45 minutes and a 1.8 out of 5. Strongly agree. This also has hex tile placement, a modular board. It's really fun. So essentially you have your starting 3 hexes, and then in the middle there are like 4 hexes with different animals, and you have to try to match up landscapes and place animals with also trying to complete different combos. You have the cards for each like animal, like a fox, an eagle, a bear, an elk, and I think a salmon. And there's different like ways you're supposed to place them on the board to get bonuses, and there's different levels, which also makes the game so fun because you are able to replay it. It has a lot of replayability when there are different levels. The game was very cute and peaceful. Andrea focused a lot on getting animal bonuses, and I focused a lot on habitat bonuses, which it goes to show that neither way was more effective because we literally both had 64 points, but the tiebreaker is who has more nature tokens, which are little pine cones, and I had more, so therefore I won. So fun. Loved it. The next game we played was Splendor, which is something that Andrea really wanted to get while we were out, and so she was so excited to play it. This is a 2 to 4 player game. It was very, very easy in my opinion. It says 1.79. I would say maybe even a 1.5. Very simple. It boxes up really tiny, so it would be a good game for travel. It is a contract, open, drafting, race, and set collection game. So there are 3 rows of cards, and then there's these really like hefty, nice looks, like poker chips almost, that are different types of gemstones. You got sapphires, rubies, diamonds, onyx, I think, whatever, gold, or whatever, all the different things. And you're drawing cards and getting different like stones to try to buy different things in order to have the most victory points. And there's nobles you can also like enlist basically. And I ended up winning that game, I think, yeah. I had 15 points, which is what you need to win, and Andrea had 6. So that was everything for the 18th. And on the 19th, Chris and I had a game night. We played, where is she? Oh no, we have the organ room. Let's wait for her rock. Also, I know a lot of people put their games upright like this, like these, but like your games not like all end up getting all messed up, because mine are literally a trash can at the moment from being like that. So I bought this game because everybody talks about it, Sushi Go. Was not a very big fan of it, if I'm being honest with you. I beat Chris 60 to 35. This has to be super easy. I don't know that I will be keeping this game in my collection. I did not find it very fun. It's 2 to 5 player, 1.16. It's like a hand swapping game. So you're basically trying to build different sushi rolls, and you get points based on what you have. But like, it was just too easy, too boring for me. It might be better with more players, but regardless, I just don't think this game is for me. So I'm not really even going to get into too much with it because not obsessed. Next, this is a game I did really, really enjoy. Again, this is by Unstable Games, and this is Tic-Tac-KO Dragons vs. Unicorns. I played as the dragons, Chris played as the unicorns. We played twice, and we each won once. I do hate the board for this. Like, it's so cheap. I wish they sold like a nicer board. I would like buy a new board for it because I think it's quite fun. This can be played 2 to 4 players. If it is 4 players, you are on 2 teams of 2. This is literally the board. It's a piece of paper. And so at the beginning of the game, you're given an objective. Say this is your objective. This where the greens are. The darkened rows, if you want to play on hard mode, which I usually do because it's not that hard. And you're basically wanting to get your either dragons or unicorns in the configuration on here. Whoever completes 3 objectives first wins. But there are plenty of cards that like sabotage the other players and such. For example, there's Dragon Dive. And with like this one, you can just destroy somebody's card. There is one that's like really cool. Yeah. With like the Trigon, you can place this and you can just sacrifice this card. So it'll go off the table, but you can destroy all of the cards that aren't yours around it. So it's just like a fun game. We as a group love games where we can sabotage each other. We just think that that's like lots of fun. But I really, really enjoyed this one. Like I said, I do wish that you could buy a better board for it. That's like my biggest thing about it that I'm not like obsessed with. They do have other versions of this game. This is a 2 to 4 player. It's a 1.0, very easy, very fun, highly recommend. This is like our version of like a party game. Next, Chris and I did play Rival Restaurants, which is right here. And in this game, you are given a different restaurant board. I was the Japanese restaurant. Chris was like a pho restaurant, I believe. And you're trying to come up with different recipes. And you go around the board to go to like different, you go to like the meat shop to get meats, to get the meats you need for your recipes, or the dairy, or the vegetables, the fruit. Then there's like the mystery mart where you can get like weird things. And each chef that you are has different perks. Chris ended up winning this game because he was like, I'm just gonna do a blind poll. Because when you're buying different like ingredients, blind polls cost like I think $1 less. So he's like, I'm gonna do this and like hopefully I get what I want. And he literally got exactly what he needed and he beat me. We were really, really close the entire game, and it was a lot of fun. I do need to play it more to really develop more of an opinion on it. I feel like I almost don't know enough about it to really we've only played it one time and it was like a few weeks ago, so I just feel like I don't have the best information to give you on that one, like a full gameplay. I'll need to play it a couple more times, but we did both really enjoy it and had quite a fun time playing it. So it's a 2 to 6 player game. It is a 2.28 on the difficulty and it takes 45 to 60 minutes, which I do think is correct. It is a auctioning and bidding negotiation. We didn't do any of the negotiating, set collection, and this was actually kind of fun. You all kind of play at the same time, so there's no like waiting for everybody else, which is so nice because that is one of my like biggest pet peeves, is like waiting for people to go and they're taking like 6 years to make a decision. And then the last game Chris and I played was also kind of a flop. Yes, this one. And like I said, I do love unstable games, so this is not really against them. This game is just a bit too simple for us. Because they have another one I'll talk about later that I wasn't obsessed with. It was also a hand passing game, I think. Was it? No, it wasn't a hand passing. I was not obsessed with this one. It's just way too simple. The board is quite nice for this one though, so that's a plus. And so you have this board that you use to keep score. It's very themed, like the little pawns look like party hats. I always, if there is like, black is like my preferred color to play, so there's that, which I do enjoy. So essentially you will flip over a party theme. Like say this was the card you picked. This is a dual party, yellow and blue, and the like attributes that go along with it are pizza, music, and baby. And then you will be building your party face down in front of you. You'll pick one, pass it, pick one, pass it, all the way around till you have like your full party. Then you reveal them and score points, but like there was very few sabotaging cards and it just kind of was boring. So I don't think this is one we would really be reaching for too often, but the art is cute, the theming is cute, I like the idea of it. The gameplay is just not really up our alley. It's, like I said, a bit too simple. Chris ended up beating me because he had got a bonus of having everyone in his party of a different color. So there are like different bonuses and stuff you can get, but still it's just like not the vibe. So this is 2 to 5 player, and then it's a 1.0. It's literally like less than a 1 for the difficulty. So overall, just like not for us. So then Saturday, the 21st, Andrea, we went over to Andrea's house, and one of Nick's friends was there. And we did play Betrayal again. Nick was the traitor, and it was like so difficult. But Chris died literally immediately, and then so did his friend Alex. I survived, and then Andrea was the reason we essentially won. So we played that again. Again, we don't have a ton of games that are compatible with 5 people. We played Unstable Unicorns with the Not Safe for Work version, which just is hilarious. I can't really explain the things on the YouTubes, but just know it's a fun time. And then we also played Here to Slay, which is a favorite of ours for like a fun kind of quick game. So again, it's by Unstable Games. This is, I think, my favorite of their games. And in this game, you each are given a party leader, and I do have the expansions, but you will get one of these party leaders at random. Say you got the rogue, this would be your party leader in your party, and every like character has like a perk. This one says once per turn you may spend an action and point to a action to pull a card from another player's hand. So each one has their own perks, and then you'll have your stack of monsters, and you will flip over 3 monsters which all have different ways to slay them. Like this one, you need 4 heroes in your party. If you roll a 7 or lower, you sacrifice a hero, and 8+, you slay the monster and draw 2 cards, and then you get the bonus. This one you have to have only 1 person in your party, and you have to roll a 5 or less. So there's that, and then you do build your party with like the different cards, which again, once you play the card, you have 3 actions. I believe you have 3 actions. You can use 1 point to draw a card, play a card from your hand, or roll for your hero's effect that's already in your party. But say you were to like just play this, you automatically get to roll for its effect. If you roll an 8 or less, no players can modify cards until the end of the turn. There's different items, and you can challenge people. You can throw modifiers down to like lessen or add to somebody's roll, or you can use 2 points to attack a monster, or use all of your points to discard your entire hand, and then you win by either slaying 3 monsters, or if you have, since I have the expansion, I think it's having 7 different types of characters in your party. But if you're playing with the base game, you have 1 of each, which is Fighter, Guardian, Ranger, Thief, Wizard, Bard. And your party leader does count as whatever type they are. So that is Here to Slay. Highly recommend. It is so fun. They sell this one just like at Target, so it's pretty easy to get, or Walmart. It's pretty easy to get your hands on, and it is quite a fun time. And then we did play Tiny Towns again, which Chris won. And we played Cascadia again. Nick did not play. He was attending the baby, and I ended up winning that game with 72 points. Alex had 70, Andrea had 65, and Chris had 63. And then we played Tiny Towns. Chris won with 38, and then Alex had 35. I had 34, and Andrea had 29. So we did go over there again Sunday. Then the following day, we did play D&D, and then we played Parks, which Alex won with 26 points. I had 25, Andrea had 24, Nick had 21, and Chris had 18. So it was a very close game. And then we did try Wrong Party to see if it was better with more people. I won with 75 points, 61 for Alex, 59 for Nick, 56 for Chris, and 42 for Andrea. And can confirm it was not any better with more people. So Wednesday, the 25th, I went over to Andrea's, and first we played Rivals for Catan. I don't have the picture of it, so we'll put it in here. Rivals for Catan is a, I think, 2-player only version of Catan. It's like a card game. Rivals for Catan. Yeah, it's 2 players. It takes 45 to 120 minutes. That is an absolute lie. It took us maybe 30 minutes max. It is a dice rolling, hand management, open drafting game. You have your original like city, and you roll the dice to see what you're gonna produce in like, one moment. So you roll the die, and then each like section of your town, I guess, like where you're growing the hay, will have a number, like a picture of the die with like a 4 on it. If you roll a 4, then you turn the square, and now you have an additional hay, and so on and so forth with all the elements. You can build different things, and you build different like towns. You can upgrade your towns to cities. You can build other, like a storehouse, which causes different bonuses, and so on. Andrea won. With whoever scores 7 points first wins. Andrea won with 7, but I had 6, so I was close behind. It was okay. It wasn't like my favorite game ever, but I'm also not a big like Catan person anyway. It's not a game I really love. I did like the Rivals one better, I think, because it was quicker and easier, and just not as much of like a commitment. But it was like fine. And then me and Andrea did play Tic Tac KO. I ended up winning 3-2. So fun, loved it. She enjoyed it as well. And then we played Caper, which we will insert here, and I ended up winning 43-30, and it's by the same people who make Parks, which is Keymaster, and it's basically like you're a thief in Europe, and we played like level 1, which is Paris. Again, it has like multiple different levels, which makes for game replayability like super high because it changes, and you're just trying to like collect points, victory points. It's 2 to 4 players, 30 to 45 minutes. It took us maybe 15 minutes. And it says that it is a 2.19. I found it to be quite easy. It is area majority, open drafting, and set collection. You're trying to collect different like stolen goods and placing different thieves and people in different places to make different combos. I only played it 1 time, so I don't have like a great explanation. I'm sure Andrea will explain it more in her video because she played it more than once, but it was quite fun. I would definitely play that one again. So then Friday the 27th, me, Chris, and my friend Kieran played a handful of games. First, we played Referral, which is quite literally the most beautiful game I have ever played in my entire life. You have this entire tree set up. It's just a great time. I'm gonna pull her down to show you some of the cards just because they're so pretty. But essentially you're making your own little town in front of you by gathering different creatures. There's like the innkeeper and a peddler that looks like a little like squirrel dude. You can build different things like the clock tower. You can get a wanderer. Each thing costs different materials. Like this one costs 3 pebbles or 3 woods and a pebble. But then there are some things like the animals, like this is the wanderer. It costs 2 berries, but in the top corner it says lookout. So if you already have the lookout built, you can play it without having to pay materials, and you just like put a little token on that lookout to show that it's being used, because you can't use the same thing for 2 different people. The resources are actually pretty cute in this. However, I do kind of want to get like possibly some Lux ones. These are like, there's like the little, the berries are bouncy. There's little berries, which literally look like blueberries, and they're kind of squishy, which is so funny. Love those. And then we have pebbles, which are like little gray. They kind of feel like beads. We've got the wooden twigs, and you've got resin, which kind of just looks like gemstones. So you go through like different seasons, and something that's kind of fun is people can be on different seasons at different times. Like I ended up being a season behind everybody, and like I ended up being the only one playing at the end, so I had to like just keep doing my turn until I was done. The number one like confusing thing about this game was the scoring. There are so many different ways you can score, but it was so much fun. I had a blast. Had I played it more than once, it probably would have been my favorite game of the month, but I just didn't think that picking a game I only played once versus a game I played like 5 times I have much more of an opinion on Betrayal and understand it a lot more because I've played it a lot more, but this game is just so stunning. I want all the expansions. I want to go on Etsy and buy all of like the luxe pieces and like baskets and all the fun things. It was so fun. Kieran ended up winning with 52 points. I had 51 and Chris had 30. And based on like which color you pick, you're like a different creature. Like I was, I think, like mice. Chris was like a squirrel. Kieran was hedgehogs. It's just so cute, so stunning. It just was a great time, and I am so grateful that I bought that game. I cannot wait to bring it over for game night and play with like the whole group. It is only 1 to 4 players. It's 40 to 80 minutes. I think probably 40 to 60. 2.8 on the weightiness, and it says that it is a hand management, income, set collection type game. Definitely worker placement. It was just so much fun. Highly, highly recommend. And then we played 3 games of Stella, or no, first we played the USPS mail race game. I'm not going to get that all out, but it was a lot of fun. I actually thought I was missing a couple of pieces, and they ended up being like jammed inside the mail trucks. But you have a map of like the US, and the colors are all pastel. Like I was a pastel pink, there's like a pastel green, a pastel blue, and like a gray. And you're kind of, in a sense, like Ticket to Ride going across like a country or like a map, and you are picking up pieces of mail, then delivering them where they need to go. There's different types of travel. You can go through trails if you have certain cards, like a donkey. It'll tell you can move 1 space via a trail, or you have like a 4x4, you can go by trail or by road. Hot air balloon, you can go over, skip a space but going in the path of a road. You can have an airplane, you can have a water plane, a boat, all sorts of things to deliver mail. And then you have a little stamper, which is what sold me, and you stamp like the things you've completed. And then I don't remember how the game ends. I think after maybe a certain amount of turns, but it was a lot of fun. I ended up losing. It was Kieran had 59, Chris had 58, and I had 43, so I was pretty bad at it, but it was a lot of fun. I would definitely play it again, obviously. I loved the stamping aspect, which it like made it so fun. It's 2 to 4 players, has about 45 minutes, 2.0, which I agree on. And it says that it is an open drafting, contract, hand management, push your luck type of game. I had made the mistake of, I was the pink, and like you do get a bonus if you like do your hometown color, and so I immediately grabbed the pink one, not realizing that I needed to deliver it in Hawaii, and the only way to get there was through an airboat, which isn't in like the first level cards. Like you do level 1, and then once you complete that, you move on to level 2 and then level 3. So I had to wait a really long time to even deliver that package. Also, if you're passing over a space where somebody else is, if they have a package, you can literally just steal it from them, which is fun. But really enjoyed it. Would definitely play again. And then we did play 3 games of Stella Dixit Universe, and we each actually played 1 time. So you have, it's not really a board. You have like the one side set up, and then you put out 4, 8, 12 cards. And then when it's your turn, you will have a word, and then you each have whiteboards, and you all X off which ones you think associate with that word. Like if the word's birthday, you X off on your whiteboard whichever pictures you think there are. You have to pick 1, maximum 10. And then you take your chip with like the light side up, and you put it on how many pictures you selected. If one person has more than anybody else, they flip their coin over, and this is what's called being in the dark. And essentially, if you're in the dark, you have the option of like losing points. So whoever's turn it is will first think of, like, look at their board and everything they've marked off, and whichever one you would want to pick which one you think most other people would agree with. You point to that one. If one person agrees with you, then you color in all 3 stars on the side. You'll be getting 3 points for it. And if more than one person agrees, you only color in 2 stars. You'll get 2 points. Everybody will get 2 points for it. Everybody will get, like, if you get what I mean. So, and then if nobody does, you have now fallen, and you can no longer collect points. So then you'll keep going around until the last person goes, until everybody has fallen and only one person stands. However, if you are in the dark, you will -1 star to everything you got, and then you keep score on the side, and you do this for 4 or 5 rounds, and every time like a different row of cards gets removed and a new set of cards gets placed out. The artwork is absolutely stunning on that one, and we had quite a lot of fun playing it. So this past Saturday, the 28th, me and Kieran and Chris went over and we played games. It was again another week where there was 5 people, so our selection of games was limited. First we played Happy Little Dinosaur, which I don't have, but it's super cute. We'll put it in right here. And Andrea won this game. I barely knew what was going on. You each were like a different dinosaur. I was a Nervous Rex, which I thought was so cute. And you have different cards, and you're kind of like playing them almost like war. And then you collect disaster cards if you have the lowest out of everybody. And you move on your score point board based on like if you win. Like say your card was an 8 and you were like the first people, the 2 highest players when you're playing with 4 people get to move the corresponding number on their cards. There are cards to sabotage each other. And whoever has the lowest score gets the disaster, but for every disaster card you have, you get to move forward 1 point, or 1 number each turn, and whoever gets 4 disaster cards first, I believe, or whoever, yeah, I think either gets 4 disaster cards first loses, or gets to the top of the board. Don't really remember, we only played it 1 time, and it was not my favorite. Then we did play a game of Betrayal. Chris was the traitor, and it was the first time the traitor won. It was so hard. It was like with cultists, and we had to like disrupt the ritual, and it was straight impossible. Me and Andrea basically instantly died, and yeah, it was just like a no. It just was not happening. Then we did play 2 games of 7 Wonders, which was a game that Andrea was not super like wanting to play, but I was like, it's one of the few games that can be played with that many, with like a lot of people. It can be played 2 to 7 players. It takes about 30 minutes, at 2.32. It's pretty easy. And it's a hand management, like a hand passing game, set collection. So you each get a different wonder of the world, and it has like different goals at the bottom. You start out with age 1, and you'll deal out the deck, and then you'll select a card. You produce a certain mineral, and you can borrow from the people next to you by paying them 2 coins. And the first round, a lot of the cards are like different like elements, and you can add them so you also can build them, that you can build an army, so on and so forth. And then after each round you do like the battling, and then whoever's army is the biggest gets extra points. Then you'll move on to age 2 cards, so on and so forth. And at the end there is a whole like scoring system, but it is a lot of fun. Really enjoy it. And you also can play on the daytime side, or you can flip it over and play on the nighttime side, which is harder, so there is a lot of like variables. The first game we played, Andrea won with 50 points, Nick had 43, Nick had 45, Chris had 43, I had 36, and Kieran had 28. In the second game, Kieran won with 52, Nick 50, Chris 50, Andrea 43, and me 39. So I did terrible that game. But the second game, Chris was really focusing on getting the science cards, which you get like bonus combos. It's basically however many of the same you have squared. So if you had 3 of the same type of science, you would get 9 points. If you had 5 of them, you'd get 30 points. Like, super good way. However, Kieran had a card that he got like 2 points for every green card the people next to him played, which Chris playing all the science cards actually ended up making Kieran win by 2 points. Then we played 2 games of Here to Slay. Nick won the first one literally on the second round. Like, he had 2 turns and then he won. Crazy. And then I won the second game by having every color in my party. Then we did play a game of Unstable Unicorns, Not Safe for Work. Kieran won that, and he actually liked the game so much he immediately bought it on Amazon. And then yesterday, Kieran, Chris, and I played 10 Penny Parks, which is right here. And it kind of gave me theme park meets tiny towns energy. You have your own board in front of you. There's a little 3D carousel, and you go through taking turns. Whoever rode a roller coaster most recently goes first, and you have like a shovel to say that you're the first player. And so on your turn, you can select whether you want to go to the bank and get money, you want to buy more land, and there's like addition pieces you can do to make your personal board bigger. There's also trees on your board. You can go to the arborist to remove trees. You can go to the like concession or the architect place and get like different concessions, or you can go a different place around the carousel to build an attraction. Different attractions cost different amounts, and on the carousel, it like you turn the carousel each time. Like there's different parts in the carousel. They're like -$1 plus $2 to make different attractions like on sale or like marked up, whatever. You also have 2 objective cards in the beginning of the game. Like my 2 objectives were to have 2 fantasy rides and to have 5 different concessions in my park. And each like concession and different attraction also gain you different bonuses on the emotions track. There's thrill, awe, and joy, I think. And at the end of each round, there's 5 rounds, you get bonuses based on where you are. If you're highest on the thrill track, you can choose to go back 1 space and get an extra worker, which I was highest every time we played, and I always got the extra worker, just went back 1 space, and I think that's why I ended up winning the game. Then there is the like other courses where you can either choose to like go back 1 and get some bonus, or stay where you are and get a victory point or a visitor, which counts towards victory points. And in the end, I had 47 points. Karen had 43 and Chris had 27. He did not do too great and was kind of upset about that. But that is everything that I played this past month. I'm sorry this video was so long, but it was just a game full of fun. We were also going to try to play Taverns of Tiffenthal yesterday, but my game came missing 8 cards that were very important, like literally the beginning cards. So I did contact the publisher, and they've already reached back out to me about sending me replacement cards. So A+ customer service. I do still have 2 games that I have not played, Obsession and Arc Nova. Very much so want to get them to the table. They are just lengthy and more difficult games. And we've had a lot of guests at our game nights, so we don't want to like play super hard games and try to like teach them to people who aren't super big into board games. But the highlights for the month were definitely Betrayal. That is my #1 game of the month, as well as Parks, which I don't have but would like to add to my collection, and Everdell. Only played it once and it already makes it to the top because it was such a fun game. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, then well, give it a thumbs down. Either way, you're helping out my channel. Comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to check out Andrea's video as well. Bye guys!